On the season finale of Tanner Talks, I chat with Murrow and Emmy award-winning journalist Kim Block of WGME TV. Check it out. Kim Block, how are we doing?
Hi, Tanner. It's so good to see you. I am doing great, and I'm so excited to be doing this. I was saying I feel like we've come full circle since I started interviewing you so many years ago, and now here you are asking the questions. It's so cool.
Yeah, I'm just so pleased that you agreed to be on the show today. It's been a kind of a funny way this all got started about a couple months ago. I just started interviewing friends when we went into lockdown, and then I
Hmm.
kind of got the idea to interview different people from all walks of life. So, what better person to catch up with and gain some perspective on what's been going on than an award-winning journalist like Kim Block?
You're so sweet. Boy, what a chapter this is in all of our lives, right? And it has provided that opportunity for reconnection in strange ways. You know, the less connected we are to people, the more unique ways we find to stay in touch. So it's kind of cool. It's been an impetus for that, hasn't it?
It has for sure. And I know that you've had to deal with COVID-19 directly within your family and your mom coming down with it. And I understand she's in the process of recovering, but it's still kind of a daily day-to-day event. How is that going? How are you doing with that?
Well, I mean, it has been really challenging, and she is 88 years old. So, first of all, you know, that's a very vulnerable population. She was in assisted living and not a nursing home, and just everybody was fine. The staff had all been tested, and then just one staff member felt a little funny, and out of an abundance of caution they tested that person, and then she was positive even without having many symptoms, which is, you know, the story so often with this virus. Then they tested everybody in my mom's building again out of precaution, and she was the only one who tested positive, and she at the time was quite asymptomatic. So that was really a surprise to all of us, and we were still not too worried because she wasn't symptomatic, and they did move her immediately to a nursing home. One thing, however, led to another. The first week she was okay. She did get symptoms the next day in terms of a mild fever and some gastrointestinal issues, but no real breathing problems. But it was the second week, Tanner, that she started developing those 103, 104-degree fevers that you read about, and was having more trouble breathing, needed oxygen. At one point, they transported her to the hospital. They weren't sure what was going on. They did diagnose her with pneumonia. She didn't need or want a ventilator, actually. She did need more oxygen. And she just had really given up. She hadn't eaten for several weeks. She wasn't drinking much. She was very weak, dehydrated. So it was at that point that we were, you know, afraid that we were going to lose her. And I just want to say one thing about the medical staff at Maine Medical Center. They have acquired these iPads for the COVID unit, and they were able to set one up in my mom's room and let us talk to her. At that point, she wasn't even opening her eyes. Just too weak. It hurt, lights, everything, just so sensitive and painful. But we were able to talk to her and tell her that if she wanted to, she could get better from this. She wasn't so sick that it wasn't possible, but she was going to have to decide to be in the fight. And it was almost like a little light bulb went off. I think she felt so terrible and was so afraid and lonely, because the real key here is you can't be with your loved ones. But it did seem to spark something in her, and the doctor the next day said, you know what, I see something in your mom. She's gotten back in the fight. And that was amazing. And I just can't thank them enough, because they're in there with the PPEs, and it's noisy and it's hot, and they stay in the room for hours because getting in and out of the things is not easy, so you don't do it every 15 minutes. So they were there just so we could talk to her, and we did that every day, and they were amazing. And she did make it out of the hospital, which was something, you know, we weren't sure was going to happen. Back to skilled nursing, where she is now. Fast forward to today, and they have given us a date to move her back to assisted living next week. So she is not quite where she was before all of this, but she's well enough to try that again. So it's a bit of a miracle, and I guess I just, I know we're among the lucky ones in terms of especially senior citizens with this illness. But it's a scary thing, and I just two pieces for people who are kind of on the fence about why we're staying safe and protecting ourselves and trying to protect each other is because first of all, if somebody you love gets sick and you're not going to be able to be with them, you're not going to like that very much. And also, it takes a toll on your body, even if you recover. I mean, my mom, it's been more than a month, and she's got a ways to go to get back to her baseline. So thank you for asking. That's a long answer, but it has hit home, and I just hope people, do understand that the guidelines that are out there are to protect us from this very real illness that can be devastating for people.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking a minute to share your experience with that, because I think a lot of people can't really fully wrap their head around the disease itself until it's unfortunate, but it strikes someone close to them, and then they gain an awareness and a better understanding of how to prepare and handle and cope with the disease. So thank you for sharing. I want to pivot. In January, you retired. I don't know, I'll use that word loosely because you did leave a window to maybe collaborate again with WGME. But your time at the anchor desk lasted for 39 amazing years. And, Kim, you have had the opportunity to interview some real icons in American culture, from, President George H.W. Bush to Oprah. And I wanted to ask you if you had any personal highlights from that experience being an anchor at WGME, and maybe not even just limited to one, but some of your highlights.
So many. You mean aside from interviewing Tanner Grover? Because that's pretty much top of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I,
It
I don't know about that. Let's not
is.
talk about let's not talk about the low points.
No, no, no. I kid you not. We can talk more about that later. But you know what's so interesting? Just having watched the, I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but I was just watching the NASA live feed of the SpaceX crew climbing on board the International Space Station. I just really am kind of a space geek, and I love that. And a couple of years ago, I interviewed Chris Cassidy, who is now the head of the ISS right now. He's from Maine, and I interviewed him while he was in space. He was flying around in the ISS, and I was on the news desk, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. In preparing for it, I would, every now and then you can see the ISS flying over, and I would go and I would look up and I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be talking to that astronaut on board that spaceship. Really cool as somebody who watched the first moon landing with rabbit ears and aluminum foil, to think that I would be able to communicate and interview an astronaut in space was pretty cool. So that stands out. And of course, you mentioned Oprah. I mean, how can that not be an incredible highlight? That came about. We carried her show on our station. She didn't do a lot of those network affiliate interviews, but she agreed to this one for some reason. And so I did spend maybe 4 days in Chicago following her around Harper's Studios. And at that time, her show was still a little, not salacious, but, more headline grabbing, not maybe as thoughtful as it became. But it was fun. It was amazing. And she was a rising star. And it was, honestly, you felt in her presence, Tanner, as if you were in the presence of somebody very spiritual and grounded and just unique. So I enjoyed that a lot. She was really good to us. I got to be in the audience of her show, which was really fun to be behind the scenes at it and talk to her staff about what it was like to work for her. She was a remarkable human being. And again, now that I see in hindsight that she didn't do many of those types of interviews, I feel really lucky to have done that. And then, of course, you know, Maine has had so many incredible politicians. I covered the first George H.W. Bush's inauguration, and that was a very exciting time for Maine. And also, I grew up in Washington, and to be reporting live from the White House and also, you know, the steps of the Capitol, the inauguration, that was kind of a dream come true. We got to go to the inaugural ball with Dave Silverbrand, who was a feature reporter at the time. That was really fun. Um, Gosh, another really cool story that was very early on. I flew to England, Falmouth, England, to follow the journey of this sailor, Bill Dunlop, who, along with some friends, built a 9-foot sailboat, the size of a bathtub, essentially, and wanted to set a world record for sailing the tiniest craft, sailing craft, across the Atlantic from Falmouth, Maine to Falmouth, England. And the station sent me over there to wait for him. We had no idea when he was going to arrive. There were no cell phones at that point, no computers. Basically, we were going by ships that would spot him and relay info to his wife, who would call us. So we went over there and waited for a day or so. And a CBS crew was there as well. And they invited us aboard a pilot ship that they had hired. We went out hours. I mean, I'm going to say 3 hours out into the ocean. Just, we didn't even know what we were looking for. And the pilot with his binoculars said, "I think that's it. Take a look." And I looked, I saw it looked like a matchstick. I mean, it was this tiny. Really? Sure enough, we kept going and we came up alongside this weaving, bobbing 9-foot boat. And there was Bill, full beard. It had been 72 days at that point. He had run out of food. He was kind of hallucinating. The last person he expected to see was Kim Block from Channel 13 in the middle of the ocean. So it took him a minute to figure out what that was. And then he asked if I had the governor on board. And I said, "The governor will be there when you get home." But we threw him some chocolate bars, whatever we had. We couldn't really help him because he would break his record if we did. But a day or so later, he came on board, and the first steps he took, his legs were so wobbly, the sea legs, but he was a hero over there. They just were waiting for him and to give him cut his beard and his hair and drink a pint of beer in England. That was, I mean, what a fun story with a happy ending. That will always stay with me. That was really cool. And then just a lot of things in between. And really, you laugh about meeting you, but some of the extraordinary people that I've met. I mean, I remember when Travis Roy, the hockey player, had that horrible accident and was paralyzed. I went back down to Miami where he was rehabbing, and I got to interview the people who were doing the work to help people try to walk again with those kinds of neck injuries, and just amazing, courageous, spirited people, and so many wonderful families and children. Those are my heroes. They really are. And I'm sure I'll think of more exciting people as soon as we're done.
Well, that is the one thing about your profession, is you're just in a position to have had so many awesome adventures and interact with so many cool people. So that is an incredible journey.
Look at this. I found this is a Portland magazine, little article on me, and inside there's this great picture.
Oh, no way.
Isn't that awesome? Takes
That's
up a
cool.
full page. Look at you. You're amazing. Anyway, I'll have to send that to you because it's got some nice things about you in it.
That is classic. One thing you did allude to earlier is that we have interviewed before through the MDA Telethon, and my parents here in Booth Bay used to run a fundraiser. We ran a series of fundraisers for a number of years for some good times. I remember they ran that cruise that you would come down on, and I heard some stories. I heard it was a very fun time.
Oh, no. So you have blackmail video.
I have no blackmail video, no. No, but I do have a little clip I wanted to share with you. which I believe, Kim, this is the first time that you actually interviewed me.
Oh, Tanner, every time I look at you, you're eating M&Ms here.
I don't want to just eat M&Ms.
Does that sound like a good way to pass the day here today? You think just eat M&Ms? All right. You gonna leave some for the rest of us, maybe?
Yeah.
What have you been doing this summer, Tanner?
Just going home.
Going home? Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
You've been watching television?
Yeah, television.
You've been watching the Jerry Lewis Telethon?
Yeah, I just didn't know what my dad said.
You gonna go to school, Tanner?
Yeah.
Oh, great. When are you going to school? Soon, huh?
Somebody's gonna go to school. 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. A little prompting from Mom over there. Do you want to hold that microphone? Is that what you're after?
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to about school, Tanner?
25 in 2 weeks.
Well, we hope you have a great time. You know, I have a little present for you here. Do you know what it is?
Well, it is.
It's a hat. It's a WGME hat. Will you wear that to school for me?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to take it? Maybe you can use it to keep your M&Ms in.
You say thanks? Thanks.
Tanner, thanks for coming. You gonna stick around with us for a little while?
Yeah.
Okay, because we'd miss you if you left. You know that?
Yeah, it's that fun show.
It's a funny show. Thanks. Here, I'm trying my hardest. It's a funny show.
That is the cutest thing in the world. And that is exactly how I remember meeting you for the first time. This charming, incredibly intelligent, just beautiful, beautiful young boy. Oh, that just makes my heart so happy. And you can tell I was trying to keep up with you, Tanner. I remember the first time I met you, you looked up at me just that teeny little age and you said, Kim Block, I'm a little nervous. And I thought, you're nervous? I'm interviewing you and you're incredibly articulate. You were so young. It was amazing.
It's funny, really have no recollection of that whatsoever, but when I look back at it, it's funny to me how conversational I was as like a 2-year-old.
Exactly. That was what was so amazing. You could have actual conversations with you. You were in on the jokes. You were making the jokes. It was really something, and you stole my heart. You really did from that day forward, and I'm just so glad to see you again and doing so well. I remember you loved the wrestling stuff. Do you remember that? Or was that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I used to try to grab you any new figurine I could find. I would always be so excited to bring that whenever I saw you.
I do remember that. No, you were always so generous with me growing up as a kid, and I want to say, half of my wrestling figurine collection I have is probably thanks to Kim Block. So
That's awesome. Oh, that's great. Well, it was, I don't know, Tanner, you just have had this amazing perspective and also just this ability to teach us all so many things. I'm just so proud of you and so happy to know you. And I don't know why we haven't seen each other in so long, but see, this is what the virus has done. It's reconnected people, so it's good.
It has. It is the one positive from it. So, Kim, one thing while I have you here is I like to play a little game with all my guests. And I want to play a game with you. I want to see if I can get you to slip just for a moment back into your news anchor role. I think one thing that a lot of people missed is that authentic delivery that you had with all of your viewers. I think we missed that on the air. So if you would humor me for a moment and play a little game that I'm going to call real or fake news. And so I'm going to have you recite, I guess you would call these promos, a read into the news, like a little commercial. But let me get an appropriate background here so you can feel like you're really in the studio and really on camera. I've brought the cameraman from Wayne's World into the studio.
That already something.
Yep. So, Kim, what I'll do is I'm going to count you in, how do you like to be counted in? Is there a format that I should follow?
You can just 3, 2, 1, and I'll go.
All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Westbrook, Maine's famous ice disc survives a chainsaw attack from a New Jersey arborist attempting to carve a peace sign. Details at 6.
All right, and we're clear. So,
I hate to say it, but I think that's true. I remember that story. I remember the chainsaw, and I remember the peace sign. I'm going to say that's real news.
that is 100% real news. I
What a-
actually, I actually saw the ice disc because I attended, Kim, an independent wrestling show in Westbrook. I'm still a fan, and it was right by where we parked, and it was amazing. Look at
It was incredible what a tourist attraction that became. I mean, Westbrook, Maine was this destination spot for this ice disc. I couldn't believe it.
that. All right, in 3, 2, 1.
A greedy seagull photobombs a woman's Instagram post and proceeds to steal her lobster roll. Full story at 11. I also remember that. I remember that really catching on and going viral. Yes, true, real news.
That is the real news. That is 100% the real news.
You see what I miss about being a news anchor? Look at these fantastic stories that could be filling our time right now.
Well, and when I read that story online, my understanding of it was that that woman had never had a lobster roll before. So she came to Maine to get a lobster roll. It was in York, Maine, and then tried to get, the perfect picture for social media, and boom, lost it.
Attacked. Oh my gosh. That's a great vacation memory. Welcome to Maine.
All right, in 3, 2, 1.
A deer was spotted ice surfing its way to safety and into the hearts of Mainers. Tune in for the full story at 6.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but I can definitely see this happening.
Yeah,
I'm going to say real news again.
it is real news. It happened.
Where was that?
That was in Allagash.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. In 3, 2, 1.
Horror author Stephen King set to try his hand on a new genre, children's books. Learn more about Charlie the Choo Choo at 6. I want this to be true. Oh gosh. Charlie the Choo Choo. I'm gonna hope it's true. I'm gonna just hope it's true.
Your instincts are correct. It's true.
All right.
Yeah.
Wait, is it gonna be horror? Is Charlie the Choo Choo some kind of closet maniac or something?
It's from what I understand, he released the book under the pseudonym Beryl Evans. So it doesn't actually have, Stephen King penned as the author, but
Okay.
it's his book. And I believe it is a bit of a scary tale for kids. So you probably might want to stick to something Sesame Street related or something along those lines. But
Awesome.
yeah.
This is news to me, Tanner. I love it.
All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Reds Eats Lobster Shack on Route 1 in Wiscasset enforces 6-foot social distancing, but customers echo concerns of lines extending into Edgecombe. More at 11. I think that's probably not true. I think the social distancing is a problem at Reds, but Edgecombe is kind of a really long line.
Yeah, fake news. I might have doctored that one up.
Okay. I'm glad that's not true. That's a long wait for a lobster roll.
Well, Kim, thank you for playing Real or Fake News. You were 5 for 5. Fantastic job.
Woohoo! I was worried about this, as you know. So,
Yeah.
Processing. So it's great. Thank you.
Well, you still got it.
Thanks, Tanner.
So, hey, Kim, any final words to take us home for the season finale of Tanner Talks?
Well, first of all, I think you have a great future here. Let me just say, I'm honored to be on the cusp of what I see is only the beginning of a new sensation, Tanner Talks. And I love how people can use technology to do this kind of thing and to deliver the news. My former coworkers are reporting from their living rooms. I used to joke about that on days I was really tired, raising two kids and thinking, man, if I could just go live from the living room, it would be so much easier. And that seemed so far-fetched and crazy. And now people are doing it. So I guess my final thoughts are just about adapting. And a year and a half ago now, January of 2019, I took this nasty fall on the ice and I suffered a concussion, a traumatic brain injury that did not heal as quickly or as well as I would have liked. Doing a lot better. Wouldn't have been able to even do this even a year ago. So it's great. But it has upended my life, and I did have to step down from the career that I was so passionate about and kind of navigate this new normal, which is a phrase I know we hear a lot. We're all doing that. What's our new normal? And people say, this will never be my new normal. Well, resist as much as you want. It is a new normal, and there are going to be all sorts of new normals throughout your life. And I've learned a lot about myself in terms of setting new bars and accepting help and being proud of accomplishments that maybe aren't the finish line. But if you are only looking at the finish line, then you kind of miss what's happening along the way. So I just want to say, don't be discouraged at the situation that we're in. It will get better. Things always do. Yes, we've all adapted, and some of us have had real life and death situations because of this virus. So I would just say, stay strong, be kind, stay together, show your grace, don't give up. There's always a new you around the corner. And it doesn't mean that the old you is gone. It's just a different way of living, and life is full of those changes. So I just want to say I appreciate everybody who is staying safe and staying home or practicing social distancing, because it matters. It really does matter. And that I'm just so happy to see you, Tanner. And you were really good at this.
I've had someone to look up to for many years, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. It's really great to hear. And hopefully we'll have a visit in person soon. It's been a while since I've been to Booth Bay Harbor. I love all of your family. I see your sister's babies are so beautiful, and you're an uncle. That's so cool.
It
And
is.
your parents are two of my favorite people in the world. And so please give my love to everybody.
I will. Thanks, Kim. I appreciate it. I love you very much.
I love you too, Tanner. Thank you.